When the client first came to us, they had a very strong vision for how they wanted the restaurant to function, from the aperitif to the dining experience. So what they asked us to bring to the table was a concept for the aesthetic of the interiors. We completely reimagined the organization of the restaurant as a whole. It was an existing restaurant before this one came in. One of our main drivers for the design was pulling together the elements of nature: fire, water, air, earth. What do they feel like? What do they look like? What is their temperature? The kitchen is meant to be the main focal point of the restaurant. The entire design is completely centered around focusing on the food. All of the lighting is directed towards the table. Everything else is simplified so that the rest of the space kind of falls to the background and the food is the highlight. When you walk into the bar, it is bright and airy. It still has a lot of natural textures and tones. And then once you finish that aperitif experience, you enter into the main space through a funnel, sort of, the way that you would enter in through a cave opening. You don't have any idea what you're going to experience yet until you enter the space. Once you do, you see multiple different booths and niches, but the main highlight of the space is where all of the light and activity is coming from, and that is the kitchen itself. That is the heart of the restaurant. You can see the chef right there in front working and communicating with his team. One of the biggest challenges in this restaurant design was moving the kitchen from where it already existed to the opposite side of the restaurant. The reason behind that was to showcase the craft of the food. You can see the chefs moving around, you can see the pastry chef working, you can see the hearth through the windows. That was very important to the client, that be on display, both inside and outside of the restaurant. This meant having to move all of the utilities, hoods, etc. It was not the most cost-effective move, but it was the most important to the concept. A big goal of ours is to take care of the client and really capture their vision and make sure that it stays maintained throughout the process.
Lucien's actually named after my son, who's 2 years old now. During that time in my life where we were coming up with the concept for this restaurant, and it was more of a serious discussion, my son was born. Around that same time, I was very much head in my paper, like really, sketching things out, and not only the food and not only the kind of what I wanted the kitchen setup to be, but also the bridge to the service area where guests are actually sitting and what I wanted to feel like, what I wanted it to look like. And that was very much so like people coming into my home. It's a little bit more of an elevated feel. And there is also juxtaposition in the space as well. We bring people into a really bright courtyard where they have small bites and champagne, and we bring them into the dining room where it completely switches. It's a dark atmosphere, almost cave-like, and the highlight is really on the kitchen. It was a pleasure working with Tecture. They were really able to match my level of perfectionism and intentionality that I have in the kitchen. I think that detail really shows inside the design.
So I've been working in wine for over 10 years. I was able to help Chef Elijah design the wine cellar. That was something we built from the ground up with the space that we have and utilizing it to maximum capacity. Big thing we say in wine, what grows together goes together. So if we have, California spirits with California fruit and modifiers, and we're putting it all together, shaking it with ice and serving it in a cocktail, I think it's going to be something completely different and new to experience.
The Lucien team was really awesome to work with. They were very receptive to all of our ideas, and they had a very clear vision for what they wanted, which is always very helpful. You form a really great relationship with your clients, and then seeing them achieve their dreams at the end of the day is one of the most gratifying parts of the job.